Why, hello. Hello, hi. It is me, it is I, Small Town Didi, your Khadi on the internet, and I am back like a stress. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. Guys, I forget to say this, and so every time I have to say it, it sounds new. I can't forget to say this because we're trying to grow the channel, okay? I'm trying to find the video I wanted to talk about. I tried to not bring this on here. I really did. But I have a very interesting relationship with my friends and stuff. So I can sub them a little bit because we talk about it, right? I wasn't gonna bring this up on here, but I was watching Lelwa. I believe that's how you say her name. I will attach an image of her here or her YouTube or something just so you guys know who I'm talking about. And she's like been doing really well on YouTube. She relaunched her channel after like trying to be a YouTuber a number of times, and she found her groove and it's taken off and things are panning out for her. She's had some back and forth with an old childhood friend on here. I don't give a shit about that. I like her content. I think the girl does beautiful work. In this particular video, I think it's like literally the latest video she's posted. I could be wrong, but she's doing a Q&A. And somebody's, I can't even remember what the question was because she's long-winded like me. Her answers just go off on tangents, which I love. She's a storyteller. But she says something. I was washing dishes like just now. I was watching her while washing dishes, and she says it had something to do with being in love. And, you know, she's been partnered with this person for a while, but she hasn't been in love for the longest. She basically has felt single, but she has this person and they have this understanding in her life. And, you know, and then she says, you know, but I'm a female, which, you know, I'm like, I don't know. You know, I get what she's trying to say, that she's a woman and she gets shadowed. You know, she's like, I'm a woman. I'm a woman, so I obviously get asked out a lot, you know, and I want to go on the dates. And it did that to me, and it reminded me of this TikTok from this podcast that I've had saved, and I've been trying to figure out what angle I want to take with this. I think not really the angle. I wanted to come and have a chat when I was not like so in my feels about this. So I'm just going to attach that. You guys are going to watch that, and then we're going to come back and have a chat about it.
Growing up and not having external validation from men, even if it's like catcalling or like, you know, all that kind of stuff that obviously people hate because it's non-consensual, or just like men sliding into your DMs or sending a dick pic or whatever the fuck. At the end of the day, that is all at least some form of validation. When you don't have that,
Yep.
and you've been invisible for so long, and you felt invisible for so long, it's almost as detrimental or more. And I don't want to sound like ungrateful.
I feel what you're saying. I felt like that as well.
Right. And I feel like this is a common thing, but we don't talk about it because it's the wrong thing to say when there are so many people suffering from those kind of acts.
Yeah. Not every female goes through that. No, and literally when you hear other girls talk about the experiences they have centered around male attention and validation, you feel like there's something missing in your womanhood. Like something is the matter with you and you need fixing. And I don't believe it's an accident that these things came together for me right now. Something interesting happened the past couple of days. I've got a friend of mine. We've been friends since we were teenagers. I keep friends. That's just my shit. And for whatever reason, she struggles to see me as a person. Like she has a difficult time humanizing me. And it's only in the last year that I realized that. And it kind of hurts. You know, at some parts I'm like, I actually don't care because the other friends get it. And I don't need to be hung up on this one friend. And what's upsetting about it, what might be or was upsetting about it, is the fact that she has a lot of privilege in terms of how she looks, right? So she navigates the world relatively easier than I do, right? She looks a certain way. She has a certain body type to her. But whenever she goes through things, I recognize that she is a human being. And her looking this way doesn't mean that she's then exempt from struggle, because that's not how life works. I'm able to notice that even though life may be easier for her to navigate over here, that doesn't mean she's not going to face certain things. And then I'm able to show up for her and you know, be a shoulder to cry on, be empathetic to whatever it is that she's going through. But whenever it's me going through something, she's so quick to dismiss my struggle as like a real thing, minimize what I'm really feeling, because to borrow from the language from the other people, to borrow from really specific American language, I feel mammified by her, right? And when I think back of our dynamics since we were teenage girls, I've always been sort of a spectator in her life, showing up, because she's always the center of attention. It's always all about her, right? The good stuff, it's her. I'm showing up to her event. I'm showing up for her to get her accolades. She's not having a good time. I'm showing up to be a shoulder for her to cry on. So I am, what is that Nadia called? I'm an extra in her life, right? So when I voice that I'm struggling with something, she's so quick to make like it's a nothing situation, because in her mind, that's not my role. Like, she's experiencing life and I'm here to watch and be there for her experience life. And it's so hurtful. Like, the more I sit and I think about it, I'm like, is this girl for fucking real? How am I telling you that I'm really going through it and you're telling me about how people have real problems? What fucking people? Are they your friend? Are they in your life? Have they come to you to tell you what they're going through? Because I'm talking to you right now. It's like, I don't know my role in her life. Like, I confuse her programming when I say something is the matter with me. Because then what about her, right? Where is she supposed to go with all her shit? I can't come to her with anything because that is not my job. My job is to be the strong friend who's not sexually viable or doesn't have the same kind of privileges that she has. And so then my role should be to be her fucking rock. That if you guys are walking around doing this shit to the people in your lives, you are the fucking problem. You are literally the fucking problem. We don't have these experiences. And she isn't the only one. And I feel sometimes when I share what I'm going through, people want to like inject some positive, like toxic positivity type of messaging that's bordering on, I really should not have these standards. They don't use those exact words, right? But they'll say things like, you're not so and so. Like, mention a friend that has better prospects because of how they look. Like, I shouldn't have these standards when it comes to dating or career or whatever because I'm not so and so. So really just, to me, explicitly saying, I have no business having standards because I look like this, right? You aren't supposed to voice when you are going through something because it makes them uncomfortable. Like, they aren't experiencing discomfort at the thought of you having a difficult time navigating the spaces that they like maneuver with ease. No. They don't give a shit about that. They just don't want to hear about your fucking experience. They don't care that that's your experience because that's life, right? We can't do anything about the fact that you don't get to maneuver as easy as the rest of us, but we surely we can work on hearing about it. Surely we can work on you not having to tell us about how tough this shit is for you right now. What the fuck? Guys, literally, and honestly, I felt mammified for a while, and not even in the sense of boys, you know, even though I get the same socialization that you get as a woman who's attracted to men, right? We vie for their affection. my having to sit and like unpack things and unlearn things wasn't by choice. It was brought about by experience, by realizing that I don't get the same treatment as you. I'm not the exception. I'm not any smarter. My experiences forced me to sit and have to reckon with some shit. The other thing where I feel like I'm mammy is I've had this chat with another mate of mine, and shame, she's doing her best to try and have me not labor like this, but it's difficult to get me to not use my hands, right? I'm a person who communicates affection by doing stuff. I love doing stuff with my hands. I always have. Like, I'm that girl that was always trying to put together an arts and crafts project and do whatever. And like, so I show up that way. If you have a function, I'm going to try to show up and help clean up and I'll bring scones. I'm that person. But what it's done for me in recent years is that as we get to like up there in age and people get into their professional spaces and they work their nice fancy jobs and they come back and maybe we're gathering at this friend's house and we're having this function and I'm there being the girl with the hands, like, you know, I'm the hands one, you know. I come away feeling like the help. It's made communicating affection in the way I know how very difficult. It's put me in a position where I no longer know how to say I care, because I say I care by doing these things. But the act of doing these things makes me feel less. And I don't know how to explain it. I honestly don't know, because I don't think less of people who labor, like come through if it's a friend or whatever, and do the cooking, while the girls who work the nice office jobs sit in their cars because they're so tired, you know, or whatever. I'm not programmed. I'm not raised to think less of those people. But what happens is that when I'm done doing that and then I go and sit with my friends, there is a way that people behave and treat us in that group where I can tell that they've been given more respect. They've been recognized as sort of like career women or people who have done well. And I don't get the same. It's like I'm nothing, like, you know. And it's like, do I stop doing the thing I like to do because it elicits this kind of treatment? Because that's the thing about being mammy, right? You're supposed to be your background thing, right? You are your service, you are server, don't take up space, you are not sexually viable, we're not sure if you're human, actually, we're not sure, but we know you're happy to serve, right? Like, we know this, it brings you joy to just serve away, and and this is what, like, you were built for this. Like, it's like, no, I'm actually a person. I'm a person. I too have desires, right? I too would love to walk into the world and have somebody find me desirable, right? Just as I am, as you get to be. And when I come to you and I say, oh, I'm so interested in knowing what this feeling is. I haven't experienced being wanted like that. What does that feel like? You don't need to diminish that experience for me simply because you are uncomfortable hearing my experience. If you're uncomfortable hearing what it's like to walk around being a fucking wallflower, imagine actually fucking living it. Like, really imagine, like, how fucked up you are for dismissing my experience because it's too hard for you to hear, or you simply don't care to hear it because Because sometimes the people that we are sharing these things with hold some of these biases, right? Hold some of these whatever stereotypes about deservedness, about what a woman who looks like me deserves. It's like, why are you complaining about this? Women who look like you know that they get this treatment. And they won't say it like that. They're not going to use that kind of language, but you definitely confuse them because they've seen other women who look like you just get on with it and not be bothered by it, or not voice when something hurts them, or not voice how going unseen makes them feel. And so when you do, they don't understand why you can't just play the hand you've been dealt. Like, why they need to hear about why it's so fucking hard for you. But I think this whole chat was just for me to have you check yourself. I think that's why also when you're the one time the pretty girl doesn't get the attention, she spazzes the fuck out, right? That will let you know exactly what you're dealing with. Exactly. Because sometimes your friends are friends with you because they're aware that when they get to be the focal thing every time you walk into a room, you are a safe person to be around because you don't threaten their currency or the strength of their currency, which is their beauty. Being around you doesn't threaten how much they can purchase, what that buying power that this is for them. And that's why they keep you around. And you labor because you're mammy, right? Otherwise you're jealous, right? Every time they have a function, you need to go and be the hands-on friend that makes sure that everything comes together, lest you be, labeled the fat, like ugly, jealous bitch. Yeah, I said that. Okay.